what would make you excited on the day after the draft? I'll give you mine. Abdul at 2. Mm-hmm. You've automatically beefed up the defensive front, and you've finally given Myles a legitimate, at least a guy who's on pace to be a legitimate help on the defensive line. You get one of the following quarterbacks, Joe Flacco or Kirk Cousins, and the Cousins thing won't be a trade. They'll release him. It would be a signed deal. They somehow convince Joey Bosa to come to Cleveland on a deal that wouldn't cost a ton. Mm-hmm. You get Will Howard at number 33, and you do one of the following things. You either re-sign Nick Chubb, or you go after one of these young stalwarts the draft is dripping with talent at running back. Now, I don't know that there will still be a great one in the third round, but there likely will be, because the NFL, the pendulum still hasn't swung back to the running back position is a critical position. It's getting closer. The running backs that moved last year from team to team had great success. Mixon, Saquon Barkley. A lot of these guys, think we're getting a retread. They're not. Mixon had a great year. Barkley led the Eagles to the Super Bowl. That's the canvas of things that would make me excited. And then, obviously, your 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th picks, all of those, you're filling in with guys that end up being great players instead of the bums that we've taken in those rounds the last couple of years. What makes you happy after draft?
Man, I got a couple scenarios. First and foremost, go get me a veteran quarterback. I would probably either sign Flacco right now. After I sign him, first thing I do, go back and sign Nick Chubb. Then at number 2, I'm taking one of the quarterbacks. Either this is Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to take one of them. And then I'm at pick number, 33?
Yeah.
I'm still looking around. I'm like, I'm going to get into the first round, and I'm going to draft one of them running backs. I don't even, if Ashley Genty is there past 17, I am packaging, taking up, going to get him. In the 3rd or 4th round, I am then going back to get another quarterback in this draft, whether it's Curtis Rourke or whoever you like. Jackson Dart won't be there. Milroe won't be there. Or Will Howard probably won't be there. But I'm gonna go get me another quarterback and go ahead and do that as well.
All right.
And then from that standpoint, I got my quarterback, the bridge guy that can work with something. I got a stud back. I got Nick Chubb back. We're going to run this football. And I got my quarterback of the future just sitting on the bench. I'm ready to go.
I mean, you want the whole breakdown like that? I mean,
I just gave
we got
three
time.
tops.
I
could have said in the third round I need an
those.
offensive lineman. Yeah. The big pieces here. What do you want them to do?
He's like, that's a lot, bro.
I want Cam Ward, my first pick.
Cam's number 1 for you.
At pick 33. And by the way, I'm cool with them trading up to 1 to get him, because that's how much I want him. That I'm cool with them giving up a mid-round pick to end up with him. Mm-hmm. At 33, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, they could take a tackle there. Yeah. They could take a guard there. I mean, they need it. They need to protect whoever this quarterback is going to be. They could take a receiver at 33, a running back there. At the end of this draft, all I know is we better have the quarterback of our future on the roster. We better have a new running back to be excited about, a receiver to be excited about.
Yep. And do you want a veteran on the squad too? You don't want Cam to start day one.
No, I'd prefer to have a Flacco or a Gardner Minshew. Okay. But that happens.
Well, you want Cam to start with 1 because he kills it.
I would take Gardner. I would take Gardner Minshew over Flacco. I think he has more upside. I think you can actually.
Younger.
Don't get me wrong. I think if Gardner Minshew was around a good enough team,
he could have a Darnold type of year, maybe.
He could go potentially. He could go to the playoffs on accident.
Okay.
On accident.
I think you're high as a you-know-what if you think Gardner Minshew is taking the Browns to the playoffs.
Let's
not get nuts.
I said if you had, not the Browns. I said if you had enough around him.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like I don't know that anybody's expecting you're adding 7 wins if you go to the playoffs.
I'm not talking playoffs.
That's not the question.
Even G. Bush ain't talking playoffs.
I'm talking about give me a 7-10. Give me an 8-9. Give me a lot of progress and some blocks to build on.
Give me a fun
I'm not saying, how do you make the playoffs?
6 wins.
To me, the only thing that would have me excited after the draft is if they draft Cam Ward and they trade up to 1 to get him. Because if they trade up to 1 to get him, that means they are all in. They fully believe. And what they'd have to give up from go to 2 to 1 is minimal. I don't care about a mid-round draft pick. You got 10, 11 picks, whatever the hell they have. That's fine. They've had 1 million picks before. Get the quarterback.
How nonchalant he is.
If you believe,
I just like watching this dude flick the football.
But
It comes off his hands.
He be nonchalant. He be looking around. He is patented.
He flicks it like a right-handed
Michael Vick.
He's playing.
Remember how Michael Vick, the ball,
Yeah, like a right-handed
70
Vick.
yards.
He has this step back throw that he does.
Right here, that one, that one.
Step back
Off his back foot.
That one right there.
Back. Look at that! Whoop! That across the body throw.
It was that first one he played against Iowa State.
every guy that's
back.
like a video a watch the tape guru that I've heard from, led by Greg Cosell, says this guy's the best, and it's not close between him and the rest.
You
of the
don't
draft.
include Kurt Warner in that position?
I haven't heard from Kurt
He
Warner.
said Shedeur, right?
No, he said Will Howard.
That's right. He said Howard.
He said it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Jay, I know you and Sean King are tight, and next week we're going to do our quarterback breakdown segment
Right.
with Sean King.
Yep.
We may have to strap you into an IV for his Will Howard breakdown.
Well, no, I already heard it. We've talked about it on the show.
Well,
he does not like Will Howard.
No.
But here's the thing with Sean, and this is opinion. If you have 1,000 topics, you're not going to see eye to eye with every single one.
Yeah.
Sean has been wrong about some quarterbacks. I want to talk about him on this show because I love Sean King, and I think Sean is as good at his job as anyone ESPN currently has.
He's had some
That's
wins
how
and
much I think about
losses
Sean
for
King.
sure.
However, Sean has missed on some quarterbacks. Sean has said this guy is going to be a decade-plus superstar. That player is out of the league.
And what
he has also said this guy is going to be awful, and that person became a Pro Bowler.
What is
It
Kurt
happens.
Warner? Do we know Kurt Warner's track record of picking quarterbacks?
No, I don't. But to answer, my opinion of Kurt, he stays in his lane. He talks about quarterbacks, and he breaks down every single game of all of the top players.
He also-
and so what he said was, I'll preface it this way. He said he watched the last 5 games of all of the quarterbacks, and he said there was no one that impressed me more than Will Howard, and it wasn't even close.
Hey, Jimmy G's off the board, headed back to the Rams on a 1-year deal.
Smart move for the Rams.
What were you going to say?
Kurt
there?
Warner's son also played with Will Howard at Kansas State.
So could taint his.
So it could be biased. Also, could be some more intel about how the guy is with the players in the
Right.
locker room.
He said that I'm just judging this off the last 5 games. He made every kind of throw I need my quarterback in the NFL to make. The outside the numbers throw, the on the run throw, this drop back and the scramble throw. He said every single throw he made off platform. Everything.
Now it's tough because Will Howard played on one of the greatest teams ever assembled.
That's right.
That's
You're right.
It's hard. You'd be like, can you do that against the Baltimore Ravens with Jerry Jeudy and Jamari Thrash?
But look at the ball he threw to
played well.
win the national championship game. Obviously, he threw it to
well.
an all-world receiver. He
Played
threw
well.
it to a receiver who, as a freshman, is NFL ready right now and would be a difference maker on any team.
I just think,
And he made a perfect throw.
I just think in the end, the quarterback is the only thing that gets you excited. So
Yeah.
whether that ends up being Cam Ward at 1 or Will Howard at 33 or whatever,
Yeah.
the unknown of the rookie quarterback, especially one drafted high, and I would say 33 is still high. Obviously, first-round quarterbacks hit more often, but the next group is the high second-round pick. There's been a number of high second-round picks.
Is there any world where, say, the Browns are like, yeah, we weren't sold on a lot of the quarterbacks? Is there any part of the world where they draft either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter and have them at 2, and then they say, whoa, we have an opportunity to go back and get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and then they trade up to go get them? Is there any scenario?
How would
in which
they do that?
Any scenario
Well, they've
in
got a
which
lot of
they
draft
pass on
capital.
a
No,
one?
you'd never pass on the quarterback in that scenario.
No, if you think he's good enough to take it 7,
Yeah, right.
take him at 2.
Yeah, right.
You guys are both pretty much in the Cam Ward
Oh,
camp.
yeah.
Of
Yeah.
the 2, I'm with you. So if you had to pick, I'm taking Cam Ward.
Yeah.
You said either Cam or Shedeur, but what's your preference?
I think Cam Ward is better than Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, so that would be your preference.
Yeah, I would take him. I just think he has a little more lively arm, but I think Shedeur can be successful in the right system.
Guys, in my mind, if I'm the Browns, the only way Cam Ward's not a Cleveland Brown is if he's a Tennessee Titan. Period.
Yeah, and there is a scenario, by the way, where Bertie told me this over a month ago. Tennessee loves Cam Ward. And you know how Bernie,
What's
when
not to
he
love?
uses the love word, he goes, they love him.
So you saying that's a smokescreen for Abdul? I've been hearing Abdul Carter for the last
I'm actually
month.
not. I think in this instance, there's no reason to throw smoke screens if
Yeah.
you know your guy.
Right. Yeah.
We've seen deals before where the contract has already been agreed upon at draft day.
But only with a quarterback.
Only with a quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. So
Right.
I'm just basing this off of Bernie's got inroads with Cam in that camp. I'm thinking that I am buying what Bernie's selling, that Tennessee does love him.
Yeah.
That tells me they're not interested in trading for a second round pick and moving down one. They're not. If they're convinced that he is their guy, they're taking him. They're not trading him. So in that world, then I think the big question that the Browns need to ask is there a big enough drop-off between Cam and Shedeur? And also part two of that question is there a huge difference between Cam and Will Howard or Dart or any of these other guys? And if there isn't, then you sit tight and you go to 33.
If the Browns don't draft a quarterback at 2 or 1, then the thing that would get me most excited, if I had to say what would get me most excited in the draft, not including a quarterback, would be to take Travis Hunter at 2.
Yeah, because he's an exciting player.
And
and
the sky's the limit. Like what he could be.
And who knows? Like the guy could be special and play a lot more both ways than we've ever seen before.
Right. And what if we'll throw a scenario that, would take a while to get there, but like, what if they draft Travis Hunter? He's this next great wide receiver, plus he can play some DB, and then the following year, and then because you still don't have a quarterback, you suck again next year, you have a high pick, and then next year you fall in love with the right quarterback, and then you get him. And now you have Travis Hunter. He's already had a year in the league. You just re-signed Jerry Jeudy. You got all this great talent. You still got Njoku. You found a running back in the second or third round.
Yeah,
there you go. It takes 2 years to get there, but if we got there, we'd all be excited.
And you could also, at that point in time, when you do have the quarterback in place, you can pick and choose when you want to use Travis Hunter, how you want to deploy him.
We got a lot
on
of super
offense.
chats today.